Our founding fathers included a clause in the U.S. Constitution to prevent emoluments. It's an 18th century term meaning bribes from foreign governments. Back then, the big concern was that Great Britain or France would bribe a U.S. president or a member of his cabinet. 230 years later, public interest lawyers have been piecing together an emoluments case against President Trump. Now, new plaintiffs are joining the lawsuit, including Restaurant Opportunity Centers, or ROC, representing 200 restaurants and 25,000 restaurant employees. Real people who've claimed they've been financially harmed, and they are changing the original lawsuit in a big way. Deepak Gupta represents the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, known as CREW, and he's one of the lead attorneys on the case. It's nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
So walk me through this emoluments case. Emoluments, in a nutshell, the goal was to make sure that another government couldn't corrupt our government leaders.
Yeah.
What kind of a case do you think you have against President Trump, and how have the new people who've joined the case changed this case?
We think it's a really strong case. And, you know, the framers were obsessed with corruption. As you said, they didn't want foreign powers corrupting the American Republic. And it's not just bribes, it's also payments of various kinds that can create an appearance of corruption. From the very first moment that he was in office, we believe he's been in violation of the emoluments clause. He has buildings where the Chinese government is a tenant. He has trademarks that he's received from the Chinese government. He has a hotel here in Washington, D.C., where foreign diplomats are going there, and they're telling people they're going there because he is the president. And
is any of that, though, evidence that he's being corrupted by any of those folks who are in his hotels or in his, leased and rented apartments?
The framers were more sophisticated about how corruption works. I think they understood human nature, and they understood that it wasn't going to be enough to just have a prohibition on bribery. Instead, we ought to have a prophylactic rule, a preventative rule that prevents anything that's going to cause the appearance of impropriety. And so any stream of payments from a foreign government to a person in high elected office in the United States is prohibited under the Constitution.
You have two people who've now joined the lawsuit. One is ROC, 25,000 restaurant employees. Talk to me about both of these new entries into this lawsuit and what their point is, how they're saying they've been harmed.
We think it's even clearer with ROC and with our other client, Joel Phaneuf, who's a hotel event booker, that they clearly have economic standing. ROC, as you said, is an association of a couple hundred restaurants and thousands of restaurant workers. And these restaurants are in direct competition with Trump's businesses. And imagine that it's your job to book these events. You can sell someone a nice dining room or a ballroom, nice food, but you can't compete with someone who's able to offer access to the president or the idea that you're going to curry favor with the president by going to his hotel.
What is ROC's standing, the 25,000 restaurant workers?
The competition in the market is skewed by having a president who is able to use his position to draw in foreign government business. And there's also a kind of corruption premium that we're seeing. So if you go to the bar at the Trump Hotel, you can get a cocktail for $100 on the menu there. I'm not aware of any other bar in D.C. that has a $100 cocktail on the menu. And you have to wonder, what are people paying that for? Are they paying a kind of premium because the owner of the place is the president?
What do you hope to get out of this suit? Normally, you'd go before the court and you'd start discovery, right? Would that be the next step? Which means you need what documents?
Item number one on that list is going to have to be Donald Trump's tax returns, because unless we have the tax returns, which we've had for every other modern president, we can't know what kind of payment streams he's getting. And we have to wonder why it is that he's incurring so much political risk to withhold those tax returns when he's said in the past that he would release them. It suggests, there's at least an inference, that there's something in those documents that he doesn't want people to see.
Like, when do you see yourself being in court, theoretically?
I think probably by the end of the summer, we'll get a judicial decision on standing.
About whether you can move forward at all?
Yeah, but that is really the big fight here. I mean, if we get past that hurdle, we're in, excellent shape in this lawsuit. And I think there's there's wide consensus on that among legal scholars. I mean, these are blatant violations of this clause. If the clause means anything, it means, you can't take payments from foreign governments.
Deepak Gupta, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.